Welcome to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Kayleigh Greenacre, a business strategist, coach, TEDx speaker, author, and your go-to woman for all things business strategy. I am obsessed with supporting female entrepreneurs to grow unstoppable six and multi-six-figure businesses that they love, giving them the freedom and life that they desire. During this podcast, I'll be sharing with you everything that you need to become a successful female entrepreneur, from the mindset shifts to sales and marketing strategies, and how to become an iconic leader that people can't get enough of. It is my mission to help you stand out, attract your dream clients and customers, and sell out of your offers with ease whilst building the business and life of your dreams. Let's make this your reality, ladies. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Actually I Can, the Female Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm joined today by the fabulous Hayley Keeber, who is an online business strategist and mentor. And in today's episode, we are going to be discussing how to create time freedom as a mumpreneur. Thank you so much, Hayley, for coming on to the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I think it would be great for you to introduce yourself to our fabulous listeners, to tell them a little bit about you and also your journey to start off with.
I'm Hayley Keeber. I am a qualified business strategist, the freedom expert for mumpreneurs, and mum of three. I've got a 12-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So all different ages, but one crazy household. And then my background was in recruitment. So I worked in recruitment for 10 years, helping high-earning individuals to build their careers around their children. So I worked with doctors and consultants and teachers and lecturers. So that was me.
Amazing. And now you're obviously a full-on entrepreneur supporting mumpreneurs to really create that time freedom for their business. So let's kind of dive into this topic, because I think this is something that so many people desire. So many people want to have more time and more freedom and flexibility in their lives. So let's start kind of from the concept of, entrepreneurs in general to start with as well. But, we're specifically focusing on mum entrepreneurs, or mumpreneurs as the saying goes. How can mum entrepreneurs or mumpreneurs balance the demands of motherhood with running a business? Because I think this is something that people struggle with a lot with time.
Yeah, 100%. So when I speak to clients, lots of them, majority of them all say to me, it's the time that they need between, like you say, juggling being a mum and being a business owner. And what we do is, the truth is, we have to get really honest with ourselves and say, do you know what? We are not super women. We do not have more hours in a day than what we should have. And we have to have really realistic expectations of our time, don't we? So what I tend to do is help people work in their downtimes, and that's what I tend to do. So I'm really lucky where my boys are out of the house 2 days a week. So I've got 2 full days where I can really concentrate on working. And then the other 3 days of the week when they're here, it is about working in them downtime. So when they're off playing, or when they're, when they are having nap time or things like that, and then working in the evening. So it's just about finding that balance where you can.
Amazing. I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I can just, again, sometimes, I only have one child. I have my fabulous daughter, Sophia, who's currently 7 as we record this. And on some days, I'm cooking the dinner, I'm then feeding the dog, I'm then responding to clients in Voxer, and I'm then making sure Sophia's doing her homework and all the things. And it's almost as if you're doing this massive juggling act. And I know that's just one example, one scenario, but it is really hard to get that balance. And I think, we all, as mumpreneurs, we try to be the best parents, the best mums that we possibly can. But at the same time, whilst building or even growing your business, you know that also has to be a priority. So again, it's about that balance, isn't it? Knowing what your priorities are. Your child or children will always be your number one, but at the same time, it's about getting that real balance. So I like what you said there. So are there any practical strategies then that you can share to support our mumpreneur listeners with creating more time for both their business and families?
Yeah, 100%. There is definitely things we can do. So one thing that I really help mums do is time block their days, because what I tend to find is they tend to fall into one of two camps.
Okay.
So what I tend to find is that they're either, feel that they're really, really busy and doing all the things, mum, business, this, that, and the other. And they're so busy doing all the things that actually they end up sort of not really progressing anywhere. It's like running in sand. I tend to find that. Or they are so overwhelmed by having so much to do that it's like head in sand. I don't know where to start, And I tend to find that with my clients. So what I really get them to do is time block their days and time block their weeks, and really start working on actually what are the non-negotiables within my day. So if you're, say, the school pickup is a non-negotiable,
Yes.
start working there, like, make sure that you're free for that time, but then don't put things in that are not really a priority. If things can be left, for another week or another day,
Yeah.
then push them to the side and then just focus on what is the most important, and then obviously prioritize it that way. So that's one thing that I get them to do.
Mm.
And another thing is to make sure that they are automating their business. Oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how
Absolutely.
important it is to automate
Yeah.
So things like social media, emails, you can even on certain platforms, depends what you use, but you can automate your blogs, so you can still be doing all of that, but automating it and just making that time. And then obviously when you're onboarding clients or whatever it is that you do, just making sure that you're automating as much as possible. I think always working ahead and looking at your goals, make sure you work backwards on your goals and then sort of forwards on your automating and forwards on your time blocking, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I love that. So two practical strategies there, time blocking and also automation. And do you know what? It's really interesting that you say automation, because, oh my goodness, it's an absolute game changer for anyone, for anyone that is an entrepreneur. Having automations for your social media, for your emails, for whatever it is specifically, but having those automations will just save people so much time. And also the stress. I remember when I used to, do everything manually, and, and this included emails. I'd sit there and I'd write an email and I'd say, well, I can't write it until 7 o'clock because it's going out at 7 o'clock. And it's just ridiculous. But obviously then automating, and I time block and say, right, all of my emails for the next 2 weeks I'm writing now, and I do them and I schedule them and they're out. And then I don't even have to look at an email again.
Exactly. You even
It just
forget you've written
saves.
it, don't you? And it just pings in your inbox and you think, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's absolutely, I definitely agree with you and would say automation is great. And I love what you've just shared as well about time blocking, because I think that's a really, really great strategic way to look at how you use your time. Because I think it's so easy as well. Lots of conversations I've had with my own clients is, quite a few people, especially mums, but others as well, non-mums also, they struggle with managing their time or struggle with procrastination. It's like, well, actually, there's different ways that you can manage this, but I really like your concept there around time blocking. So are there any, I know you did touch a little bit on this, but are there any common time traps that mum entrepreneurs actually fall into? And is there a way to avoid these? I mean, time blocking, I know, will be one of your
Yeah,
ways to do it.
absolutely. So again, I find that there are two camps, and I've actually got names for these two camps. So I have like the purposeful wanderer, which is the person that is so busy doing all the things. I don't know if I don't know if you're like this, but I probably fall into this trap of I never sit still. I'm always like up. I've got this to do. I've got that to do. And actually, half the time things could be left.
Yes, yeah.
And for them type of people, if you're like that, if you feel like you're so busy doing everything that you never actually get anything done, what I tend to find for people that are like that is that they tend to over prioritize things. So
Mm.
what we do is we really look at what is the priority here? What are you trying to achieve? And what we do is we break the goals down into more achievable things so that they become the priority, rather than, worrying about the massive loads of dishes that need to be done that can be done at another time, you know, that sort of thing. It's just about getting that priority in. So if you know, for example, that week you need to do more lead generation, that is your priority. Let's prioritize on that. And then we break it down into smaller chunks. And I find that's a lot more manageable, especially around children, because they're so unpredictable, aren't they? Children, like, you know, one day you think they're going to school and then they end up getting poorly and it throws your whole day off. So it is just about doing that. And then the other type is the overwhelmed avoider, is what I call them. And
I
then
love these names, Hayley. These are brilliant.
thanks. Just come up with them. But yeah, but I find with them that they feel like they have so much to do, and it is that procrastination that you were saying before, that actually what ends up happening is they sit there and they go, oh my goodness, I've got to do content, but I don't know what to do. I've got to do this, but I don't know what to do. I've got to send an email out. And it's almost like that, I'm just going to throw anything out because I have to, and it doesn't land and nothing works. And then they wonder why things are not working. So what I tend to do is say, right, let's chunk things up. Let's break them into smaller chunks. Let's really look at small things. So this week we're only going to work on this, and we're going to perfect this.
Yeah.
And then we're going to move on. Because I find once you've perfected things, and it is a bit of a juggling act, like you said, and it is a little bit of practice, I think, and being really honest and being really like honest with yourself and saying, right, I don't have 12 hours a day to work. I only have 4 hours a day to work. So what do I do within that 4 hours that I can get done? Right, if I do this for 20 minutes and then I do this for 20 minutes, and I think it then helps to break down that mum guilt as well a little bit.
Absolutely. So I love that. So breaking things down, obviously time blocking, chunking, and obviously prioritizing, which you mentioned there earlier as well. So you've just mentioned the word guilt, and I want to talk about this because being a mumpreneur myself, I know that I have gone through stages and phases over the last couple of years where I have really struggled with guilt. I have absolute mum guilt sometimes, where I feel like I'm completely disowning my child, and I don't want to do that. And of course, it's been something that I've previously experienced more so than obviously today. But I'm sure there's some listeners listening to this podcast episode right now thinking, oh my goodness, yes, I'm struggling, but I feel guilty. I feel guilty taking time away from my children to work on my business. What advice can you give around that?
Yeah, do you know what? Mum guilt never goes away. And I want to say that to anybody. It doesn't. And it's real and it happens. But I always think of it from a mindset point of view. Change your mindset on it. You feel guilty because you care.
Yeah.
And if you didn't care, you wouldn't feel guilty. And that's the only reason. And with me, having 3, and I've got the 2 boys and they always want my attention. And sometimes, my daughter will come in and be like, you're always working, mum, or this, that, and the other. And you sit there and you do feel bad. But then actually, it's about, right, okay, well, when I'm working, but and I think it goes back to remembering why you started your business in the first place and having that really strong why. For me, I had probably a very similar why to you. It was my children. That was why. And wanting to help mums to overcome that as well and build their businesses for their children. Because whether I'm in a 9-to-5 job, or I was in a 7-till-5 job, or whether I'm doing this, I would still be away working. I'd still be doing something. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world where, you just can't work. So most of us have to work. And so that guilt will always be there. But I think it's reminding yourself why you're doing this, and remembering that by having your own business and building your own business, you're going to give yourself that time freedom back, so that then you can give them back the time. And I think the thing that changed my mindset on that actually, and I know has actually helped another one of my business friends, and I told her this story, was that I recently went and had a brand photo shoot done, and I took my children with me, and it was the first time I'd ever taken them, and I didn't know what to do. And I was thinking, oh no, what's it going to be like having 3 children at my photo shoot? And it turned out, and it worked so well. And when I got out of the place and we got in the car and we went home, my daughter actually said, Mum, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, wow, They watch what you do. And then they had careers day at school, and my daughter actually said to them, I want to have my business like my mum. And I was like, oh, like where you just want to cry. And
Yeah.
I thought,
Proud
they
mum
do
moments.
what? Yeah, we think they're taking it badly,
Yeah.
but they're not. I think they're admiring from afar, but you don't realize it.
Oh, that's fascinating. And I love that story about your daughter. I absolutely love that. But it is hard. It is hard. And I think you're right there in terms of guilt, because all of us will kind of experience that guilt. And I think this actually links to boundaries as well. And I'm going to bring in, I'd like to talk a little bit with you about boundaries, because again, this is something that I used to struggle with an awful lot, not so much anymore. But when I know most of my listeners know this already, that when I started my business, I had a full-time job, very senior assistant head teacher job, and obviously juggling everything as a single mum was so hard. Boundaries, I didn't have any. Like, there were no boundaries. I'd work till 2 a.m. to get my stuff done, and I was like a machine, literally working literally
Yeah.
8 hours. And I made myself so ill, had a massive eating disorder that I dealt with, and made myself so poorly that I massively had a crash. And I'm sure there are a number of listeners here that have got to the point where they feel like they're on burnout, or they're exhausted, or they're making themselves poorly as well. So I feel like boundaries is something that I had to learn quite early on, very quickly, to prevent me doing that again, which is what I went through at the end of 2021. So can you give any advice around setting boundaries, or how to create boundaries in regards to both your business, but then also, again, children and family balance?
100%. Yeah. Balance is one of the biggest. I think that's probably one of the things, funny enough, that so many people do struggle with, because they feel like they need to, like you say, do all the things, and then you end up being like a machine, and it's just not sustainable, is it? And I think the advice there would be, set time limits. So and that again is where your non-negotiables come in. So my non-negotiables are that I will do the school runs, and also it's like bath and bed. And then in the evenings, yes, I might work in my evenings, when the football's on or whatever, but and I don't watch it, but
Yeah.
I'll work then, but then I have a cut off at like 10 o'clock. I will not work past that, because then I need to wind down and go to bed to start the next day. And yeah, I think that is a really good point, just having really strong boundaries there. And again, time blocking really helps that, because if you block in your time, okay, it might never work to the minute. I'm not saying it works to the minute, but it does give you that idea of, right, okay, that's it now. And like yourself, you obviously have Voxer calls coming in. I do bits on that too. But after a certain time, that's it. And I think it's about just being really clear, and like you say, setting your boundaries, setting your standards, and making sure you stick to it.
Absolutely. Having those boundaries in place is so important. And, like I've just shared, I discovered this very early on in my business, but it is important. I think everyone should stick to those boundaries as well. Set your boundaries, let your clients know, let your family know, just make sure everyone is in on that, so they know and understand when you're available for what. And then obviously sticking to those. So I absolutely love that. I think one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs and mumpreneurs struggle with as well is the whole mindset piece to this. Now, I know we're talking about time freedom. We've just talked about boundaries and making sure we prioritize. But what advice would you give in regards to mindset? Because I feel that, in order for people to really achieve this time freedom, they've also got to do the mindset work, right? So are there any kind of key mindset shifts that you feel that mumpreneurs should embrace, or any advice around mindset?
Yeah, I think mindset's huge, isn't it? And I think as mums, we are such givers, aren't we? We worry about everybody else. We don't worry about ourselves. And I think, yeah, having that sort of understanding, and what would I say for that one? Look, we just need to get really honest, don't we? You need to have money to have time freedom, and that's the facts of it. And we need to understand that. So working on any money mindset would work as well, and really works, because if you really want to have true freedom, and I see this a lot on the internet. I see this sort of, especially in our industries, you see it sort of thrown around like, oh, start this business and you'll never have to work again. And it's like, no, that's not true. Because if you really want freedom, you've got to have you've got to have the money there as well. And if you want a sustainable business, you do. So I think that's, it's about getting honest with yourself so that you're not overwhelmed and you're not in that panic. And that by having the strategies in place along with your mindset, so knowing why you're doing it, how you're doing it, how you're helping, will then bring it back to, right, I'm not feeling overwhelmed, I'm not panicking. And so then you come at it from a place of calm, because I think that's what we need to do as mums. If we come at it from a place of, oh my goodness, I need to do all of the things, your mindset's gone, you have wobbles, you think I can't do it, then procrastination sets in and burnout and all the things, where actually, like I say, bring it back to why you're doing it. And remembering to invest in yourself. That's the other thing that's really important. Invest in yourself. Don't see it as, oh, but I can't because I'm a mum. I can't invest because I've got children. Because if you're investing in you, you're investing in them.
Yes.
And that was something I had to learn really early on, that by investing in myself, getting mentors, getting, if you've got to outsource something, outsource it because it frees up your time, then do it. Because, one of the things that I always said I would outsource first, the first thing I'm going to do, and I will be doing this, is a cleaner.
Yeah.
People underestimate it, but I'm going to outsource a cleaner, because then I don't have to clean my house and it frees up my time. So it is just about being a little bit smart with it.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. Cleaners are one of the best investments. Who wants
Yes,
cleaning for
agreed.
2 hours every Saturday when you could be spending more time with your children? Absolutely. I love that. And I really like that concept, around mindset. Obviously, again, understanding that, yes, they're a mum, but that doesn't mean that they can't achieve what other people can achieve. And I think there's a big piece on this, actually, because there's a lot of successful people out there who are not parents, who are not mums, who are not dads, who are not parents. And so it's so easy to see them jetting off to Dubai and having all this flexibility, being able to do what they want to do. Whereas we as mums, we've got another full-time job on top of our businesses. And that is being a parent. But then also some people are also building businesses whilst working another job as well. So you potentially might even have 3 jobs. And I think with the mindset piece, it's a case of, it always comes back down to that self-belief. Like, anyone can achieve freedom. Anyone can achieve wealth and be wealthy. Anyone can achieve success, regardless of who they are, their backgrounds, all the things. And it is that piece of real self-belief, isn't it? Because understanding and knowing that you are worthy of just as much as people who are not mums.
Absolutely. I think if you were a mum in, say, a full-time job, or if how people say proper job, I hate that, but proper job, I hate this. But if you were a mum and you got a promotion, for example, that would be like, wow, amazing. You're working on yourself.
Yes.
You having your own business is like your very own promotion. Like, there's no reason why, just because you're a mum, you're still a woman in your own right. You just have certain time restraints. You just got another priority. But I think, there is no reason why, just because you're a mum. And if, in fact, by being a mum, I think you've got even more reason to go out and do it, because you've got people that you're showing that they can have their dreams. I never wanted my children to come to me and say, oh, my dream is this, but I can't do it. I want to say, look, I achieved my dream, so you can achieve yours too. And I think it's about also seeing yourself as that role model. See yourself as that role model. I'm doing it for them, and I'm going to show them how I'm doing it. And I think that's always so important.
I love that. Being a role model and building that legacy. We are, as mumpreneurs, we're building this legacy for our children, and we want them to benefit from that. And we want them to see that the hard work we're putting in is worth it, and it's creating the future for them. So I absolutely love what you're sharing here. And absolutely, bringing it back to that real mindset piece, believing in yourself, believing that you are worthy as a mum, regardless of how many children you have, how old you are, it doesn't matter. This is your opportunity. And I think, I saw something really interesting on social media the other day. And it was a short reel, and it was referring to those that are in their 40s, are halfway through their lives, and they've got a certain amount of time left, etc. And it's one of those kind of eye-opener, awakening reels. You think, wow, oh my goodness, yeah, this is right. But again, even just me watching that for 30 seconds, maybe we're like, absolutely. So what am I doing tomorrow to keep continuing to move, to grow, to, to become this even better version of myself that we're always striving to be? There should be no person, in this world putting restrictions on themselves because they're a mum. Like, absolutely
Absolutely.
not.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just think it's so, so important, isn't it, to have that self-belief and mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, I was 35 when I started this job, and it's like, 35, mum of three. A lot of people would think, oh, no, there's no point, I'll go and get a job. But ultimately, you've only got one life, haven't you? And I never wanted to look back in years to come thinking, oh, what if? It's just, yeah, no, definitely.
Self-belief is key. So we're coming towards the end of the episode, Hayley, and I would love to know, what is that final piece of advice that you'd like to give all of our listeners on today's podcast episode that are mumpreneurs?
Just go for it. I know that sounds really, really, but just go for it. Forget the fact that you are a mum. Use them as your fuel to just do the things you need to do. Don't worry about the overwhelm. Don't worry about the time. Don't worry about, oh, what if? Because, what if may not happen. So just go for it.
Amazing. And the final question I ask every single guest that comes onto the episode, onto the podcast, this question: what is your word or mantra for this year, and why?
So I had two words this year. So I went into it with risk and opportunity, because I'm not naturally, again, probably being a mum, not naturally that risk taker, not massively. But I knew this year that I wanted to change things, and that's what I was going to do. So yeah, risk and opportunity, because the more risks I took, the more opportunities were coming my way. And I tell you, it has worked as well. So they are my words.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those. And I just want to thank you as well for being the guest on today's episode, Hayley. Where can our listeners come and connect with you?
So I'm mainly over on Instagram, which is at the Flexible Working Strategist, or I have got a free Facebook group called the Flexible Working Group. So you can come and find me over there.
Amazing. I will put the contact details in the show notes as well. And I would like to thank everyone for tuning in to today's episode. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And I'll see you all again next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast with me, your host, Kayleigh Greenacre. If you are ready to build, grow, and scale your dream six-figure or multi-six-figure business, then head to our website now for more information, or connect with me on socials to see how you can create your dream business and dream life.